Yourstory.com. I'm your business editor, Vishal Krishna, and it's that time of the evening where I bring you some wonderful startups. And today I've got Abhishek Bansal, the co-founder of Shadowfax. Shadowfax is also the horse of Gandalf, if I've got it right. But this startup, it's a 5-year-old startup. They've done wonderfully well. They've raised about 100 million. Flipkart's one of their investors, and they've got a whole host of customers, Zomato included. They've got Nika and others. They've got a lot of D2C brands. And on their website, they have claimed to have done more than 1.6 billion in shipments in terms of quantity. And I'm waiting for Abhishek here. And Abhishek's come in. 1 second. Let me call him live. He's going to be talking about this particular put out, talking about how logistics has grown over the last quarter. And he's also going to be telling us how the industry has performed this. Thank you. Hi, how are you? Good to see you, Abhishek. It's been a while.
Hey Vishal, it's good to have you in here at the Friday evening. Thanks for calling me in, Ian. Yes, great to see you as well after a long
It's
time.
a great time for me to end the weekend because logistics has been my favorite subject. But over the last 1 year, I've been tracking SaaS and I've lost touch with logistics. But it's so good to talk about a company that I tracked in 2015, 2016, and you've grown very well. And congratulations to you. You had all those funding rounds everybody knows about. But what is important is the impact that you've made in the 3PL industry. And just for our audience, right? About 60 of them have joined in. Maybe you could perhaps tell us how Shadowfax has quickly evolved over the last 4 or 5 years. And we should talk about the impact of the COVID. And we'll talk about that beautiful report you put in, which everybody will appreciate, guys, on what verticals have done well. It's called the Logistics Index. We'll talk about it in a bit. Over to you, Abhishek.
Thanks, Vishal. I'm actually glad to be speaking to you after so many years and glad to have survived the 2015-2016 war that happened back then. And
Yes.
I think Shadowfax has come a long way now. I think over the last 5 years, we have evolved from being just a pure play hyperlocal last mile logistics player into an end-to-end 3PL logistics company where you talk about food, you talk about grocery, you talk about e-commerce, you talk about B2B now. I mean, we are delivering all of that. And I think one of the biggest ways in which today we differentiate ourselves is that we are probably the only third-party logistics companies which actually delivers all the categories which are like getting delivered to an end customer. And I think the kind of customer base today that we have, right from the likes of someone like a Swiggy, Zomato, Big Basket, Flipkart, Amazon, and a whole bunch of people that we are working with today in the customer service domain. And I think we are pretty excited by the report that we have released. And this is just one of the 12 reports that are going to come over the next years. I think we fundamentally believe that there is a lot of research that needs to be done to actually understand where to lead the market to, rather than leaving it to self-discovery. And I think on that path itself, we think that there are a lot, there's a lot more nuances and a lot different ways to look at data which nobody has been looking at till date. Yeah.
And what is this new index all about? You were talking about. I'm fascinated now. When I looked at the report, we'll get to the report in a bit. But you talked about data, which is very important to track the sector. What do you mean by that? Why do you say that it has to be looked at differently? Is it because we have so many categories in the e-commerce space itself now?
Yeah. That's definitely to it. I'll give you some more context as to why
Yes, please.
this problem actually came in the first place. Okay. So what was happening was basically we were having a very good horizontal view between different categories, right from hyperlocal commerce to grocery. And each of these categories are very different. They like the kind of, it might just seem like to an end customer that okay, everyone is basically delivering products to us. It should be really fairly straightforward in terms of backend process and algorithms. But it is actually very, very different. And the kind of the customer expectation, the NPS expectation, the things that vary and are similar between different categories from a logistics standpoint are very, very unique. And what we realized was that the kind of view that we were getting to have by working across all the categories, nobody else has that view. And I don't even know any other logistics or any other company in this country which is doing, for example, both hyperlocal and e-commerce, and we are the only ones who are doing that. So we realize that we know a lot more about data, and we know a lot more about comparison between some of these industries, and we actually want to know more as well. It's not like we know probably the zenith of everything. I think in the next 3 to 5 years, the Indian e-commerce industry and the Indian e-tailing industry is going to grow very significantly.
I agree.
There are going to be very specific drivers of that, and we believe logistics is a key driver. So we thought, if we have the knowledge, why not go about put that into some use, come up with some sort of a benchmark which we can develop over a period of time. Again, this is just the first index that we have, and I believe there are going to be a lot of feedbacks coming in time to understand whether this is like something, how to improve on that. But in times to come, we think that there might be some very significant strides that we will be able to do just to bring in some sort of a comparison between different categories, or I would say just benchmarking between different categories and different players, and how are they different or similar to each other.
I think that was very important to do at this point of time. And I think the context would also be what's happened over the last 9 months, right? It's very important for you. And I'm of the assumption that what is not digital has completely gone digital faster. And I think it's a very good year. And going forward next decade, I think it's the era of logistics. You know, I come from the background, I've been tracking D2C over the last 2 years, and I see that industry phenomenally grow. And they're all very dependent on you guys. So let's talk about the COVID impact and what has changed in terms of digitization in the logistics industry. Your 3PL partners, your network must have really appreciated that after June, the order volumes must have gone up.
I'll actually talk a bit about the industry per se first.
Yes, please.
Very specific how it has been for us, or what we have been doing in the last 9-10 months. I think from an industry perspective, see, what happened was that COVID took everybody by surprise. If like that's an understatement, but it just took everybody in a certain state of shock as well, in terms of how do you manage your businesses, how do you manage your supply chain especially. And what we realized, that people immediately within COVID started talking about fundamental of their business, how to become profitable, how to focus on their core. And one thing which was started to come out is that logistics is not a significant differentiator. It is a differentiator between a good and a bad, but logistics between doing yourself or doing by a third party, it's not actually creating a fundamental difference in their life, rather than probably investing into something which creates more customer delight, like a front end, or the kind of supply they have, or the kind of SKUs that they have, where they are placing their inventory. There are a lot more things that started coming into focus. What we are seeing in the market today is that the conversations around outsourcing logistics have suddenly grown like tenfold. Okay. This is not just good for us, this is good for the entire ecosystem. Because, I mean, in a third party ecosystem, if you basically believe that a third party can add in and create a lot of value, and I think that entire industry will grow in, and that's where the real cost efficiency will get unlocked. So I think that is one very important trend that we are seeing. The second trend is obviously very intuitive today, which is people fundamentally don't feel safe while going outside. Okay, people feel safe if they were probably sitting at their home doing a shopping. People want all kinds of flexibility. Okay, they'll want doorstep return, they'll want payment facilities, they'll want contactless delivery, they'll want God knows what all. But I mean, the whole point being that customers feel safe at home now, and this trend is not going to change very quickly. So, I mean, in the next 1 year, what we see is that this trend is going to become stronger and stronger. And by the time COVID is over, the whole customer dynamics will change. Okay, people would fundamentally be aligned to order online, because everybody will get used to doing that. I was just reading a report, and this is one of the most fascinating numbers that have come out in the last few quarters, especially between this. Like last year in the festive sales season, India had 45 million shoppers. Okay, this year the number of new shoppers, or the total number of shoppers actually, has gone to 85 million. Okay, and that's just 1 year. India has never seen such kind of growth in the new users who are basically sitting at home and shopping. Again, these are all fantastic things for the e-commerce industry. These are fantastic things for the third-party logistics as well, because as what I said first, people are now looking to outsource more. So if the industry is growing, people are looking to outsource more. that's like a great news for all of us out here who are probably trying to build efficient networks, combining like various synergies between different categories, different clients, different networks per se. But I think that's really happening in the logistics industry, which is like, I mean, logistics probably will become an investor. It's already become an investor favorite in the last quarter or so. I mean, we might see a lot of deals happening in the next few quarters as well.
Yeah, and I wanted to quickly talk about, you wanted to do that special announcement, and I want to do it early in the show because it's something to do with the coronavirus and the vaccine.
Yeah.
And do you want to tell us, because you're going to announce it here, and it's a special one, guys, because it might just reach your doorstep also. Go on.
No, thanks. I think putting so much light on it. So I think, guys, what Shadowfax has just announced today is that we have done a very strategic tie-up with SpiceJet, and we will be moving COVID vaccines. I think as Shadowfax has always stood, like we like taking on the toughest problems. We believe that COVID is going to be the biggest problem in the coming year. So why not take a stab at it? Why not probably see if we can add value to it? I mean, Shadowfax truly believes, like the whole business model believes in two aspects, like increasing speed and increasing, like working on the criticality piece of it. So we thought this is a natural extension. We have a whole bunch of pharma companies which work with us. And I think what we have come out with a solution is basically the vaccines are going to move through air. So it basically, the first mile is going to be cold storage, the entire movement is going to be air, and then the final destination is again going to be a cold storage movement. And we are building capability today to enable movement right from minus 25 degrees Celsius to somewhere close to 30 degrees Celsius, and anything can move on that. Now, the interesting catch over here, and what makes this partnership really special, and I would say that listeners on this call would really appreciate that. Moving a vaccine which is temperature controlled is easier if you just have to move it, let's say, in a 7 to 8 hour duration versus, let's say, moving it for 72 hours. Okay. Now, basically, if you were to connect a vaccine from Delhi to Guwahati, if you're moving it by road, it'll probably take 2 days to reach Guwahati by road. The amount of cold storage, the amount of facilities that you will actually need to move that is I can't even think about how India will ever get that infrastructure. But let's say you are given a timeline that you can actually pack it in a certain manner that protection will last for 8 hours. Can you really do it in 8 hours? We think it is yes. And we think airlines are going to be a big role player in that, in the efficient distribution of vaccines in that. I think that's our, like, the entire partnership SpiceJet, I think it's a step towards that. We believe that we are going to definitely play a major role in the vaccine distribution next year. And we feel like really happy by like just thinking about the fact that we'll actually be creating so much impact. And this is probably something which is going to be so important out there for every citizen of this country, or probably every living human being that is there in this world. So happy to be a part of it.
Congratulations on that. And congratulations on that. When do you start moving? And the usual question that a lot of people now will start asking, because you've also announced this, is the temperature management, right? You talked about minus 25 degrees to minus 30. There were reports that it has to be above that also in certain cases, or in most cases. Are you going to specially work with refrigeration companies on this? Do you have the throughput to increase that volume quickly? I know that the Bharat Biotech's vaccine, Covaxin, is in Bangalore at this point of time, but only 200 vials. But like you said, you want to do more people, you got to do better transportation, you want to go to different cities, you got to do it fast, and airlines make the difference. But talk about the temperature, because it has the entire chain, and I'm sure people will appreciate. It is moving it from the factory or whatever lab to road, and then to the plane, and then again back to the road, and again back, it's to the hospital and the lab again. So how will you manage that?
See, this is a very, very interesting question, actually. Now, from the Indian context, there are 3 or 4 different kind of vaccine that will be there in the market. Okay. Right now, I think the biggest vaccine that all of us are actually waiting for is the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine that is created by...
And the Pfizer one and all that.
Yes. Now, for that specific vaccine, the temperature requirement is somewhere, it's an ambient temperature requirement. It's between 2 degrees to 10 degrees Celsius. Okay. There is another vaccine which is getting discussed, which has come out by a company called Zydus. Again, Zydus just came out public last week on that particular vaccine, where they're saying that they will be able to create a vaccine which will essentially move somewhere between 25 to 30 degrees Celsius. That'll be possible to do that. Then there are obviously vaccines like something like a Pfizer, which I don't think is going to come to India, probably going to be there in the hinterlands of this country, but that requires something like minus 70 degrees. So I don't really think that minus 70 is something which is doable in India right now. We really don't have the infrastructure anywhere.
Absolutely.
The interesting bit is that the moment you are between minus 10 to 10 degrees Celsius, you can actually move the vaccine without any refrigeration. Okay. There can be special packaging done right from like these are temperature controlled packaging. Okay. And those sort of packaging will actually help you move vaccines in a for a small duration. So those packagings can probably work for 10 to 15 hours. Those those packaging cannot protect the vaccine for, let's say, 3 days. That's not going to happen. But let's say you have a refrigerated unit, you do a certain amount of packaging through that, and you take it to the destination within a quick ambit of time. There are solutions where you might actually be able to open up or unbottleneck the capacity in itself without really I would say adding refrigerated trucks or refrigerated airlines per se. So that's good news.
It's an amazing thing for a startup like you. I mean, how did you win the deal? Did you integrate the stack saying, did you go and say, look, I will bring in an airlines partner? Did you go to the pharma companies and tell them that? Because I know you have a whole bunch of customers, different verticals.
Yeah.
Did you move fast in this? How did the leadership team react to this? Did you go to the pharma companies and say that, look, you need a solution, we can give it to you? Yeah, and then you brought in the airline partner also. Who reached out to you first? How did this happen?
See, I think when it comes to the airline partner, SpiceJet is a strategic partner of Shadowfax, not right now, even for the last 3 years. So Shadowfax today does a lot of B2B deliveries as well, where basically a lot of critical movements today happen through us for a lot of clients, critical express delivery movements, where we directly book basically. So there are two ways in which we can work with. We can basically fill in the belly space of a plane, or we basically hire a private plane. Shadowfax over the last couple of years has been actually working quite a lot, not just SpiceJet, but with a lot of other airlines as well. And I think this entire partnership with SpiceJet also comes from the fact that the SpiceJet leadership is also very well aligned that they want to do something really big in this sort of a problem statement. And I think that's where our conversations aligned. So, I mean, it's not like we had to specially reach out or something. It was an ongoing relationship with them. And when we were speaking, we realized that there is a mutual interest in solving for this problem. We thought, okay, why there is enough trust between both the companies. We all, between both of us, we actually know a lot of clients who are talking to us independently. So why not just join hands and create a very beautiful product which can actually fast track the entire capacity that needs to be created for vaccine movement in this country.
I'm really very curious now. And is it going to be like a new SaaS kind of a platform through Shadowfax where the pharma companies say, I want to transport X vials across the country, and then they bring in SpiceJet, the timings of movement of the cargo, and obviously you at the right time to bring in your network of partners to come and pick it up. I think you'll be creating a very specialized form of delivery, which will perhaps do good to the country in the long run also.
Yeah. So see, I'll tell you the good thing is that a lot of technology capabilities we already have for that. So we are already integrated with the technology stacks of some of these airline partners. So today Shadowfax is present at all the major airports, like all the 50 airports. We have a physical office in all those airports. So I think a lot of infrastructure, a lot of technology, we are already using it for a lot of other clients where we work with today. But I mean, see, where we will be doing a lot of investment and innovation is the entire ambit on packaging. And basically, how do you ensure that the product safety is taken first? Because this is something which is a very critical sort of a order. Okay, this is not like where you can miss basically a route, or you can miss a day in the journey. It's very, very critical the way it needs to be conducted. So I think building that entire element of speed, building that entire element of just ensuring that each and every package is actually delivered within your standard delivery times, and there is not even a single miss to it. I think that is something a very interesting problem to solve, very difficult problem to solve, but I mean, that's what we love to do over here.
Yeah, congrats to you once again, and I hope we see the vaccine come to many of you, and I hope you people participate in the trials out there too. Some hospitals are offering it. Let's talk about the report now. You call it the Redseer Shadowfax Logistics Index, right? And it is a comprehensive index simply because it covers several themes. It covers e-commerce, vertical and horizontal. It covers D2C and several things. When did this report happen? This is the first of several reports, you say. Uh, why is it timely? Can you address that issue first? And then we'll dive into each of the features that the index, or each of the data points that the report lays out.
Yeah. No, I think, see, the way it's an idea that came to us probably almost like an year back. And we were very keen on doing something like this. Unfortunately, COVID happened. A lot of those plans got delayed in terms
Yeah.
of the work towards such kind of an index, doing a lot of research on such kind of an index. But I think about 2 quarters back, we finally formalized a tie-up with Redseer. Redseer is a great organization. I think when it comes to market research, especially in the tech space, I have never worked with anybody better than Redseer. So I think they have like a comprehensive method. I think the data, the insights that they have, plus the kind of deep-rooted contact that they have in the industry to get a view on what is actually happening is amazing. So we thought, why not we'll partner with something like that? And again, Anil, the founder of Redseer, so we both go a long way back. Okay, we have a lot of commonality between us. We started discussing a lot of this, and both of us got fairly excited that this is something that we should do together. And we bring our knowledge in terms of what really is logistics, how to break down the logistics
Right.
piece of it, and they bring their intensive research into it. So I think that's how it started. As we started discovering it, we realized it's actually very difficult to actually come out with something like an index, and it's not going to be a one-odd index. It's something we'll need to work like quarter on quarter and build it over a couple of years, and that's probably where we'll get the best quality output. So I think we have come out with the first set of index. This is the first time probably just the logistics capabilities of the top e-commerce companies and the top e-tailing companies in this country are getting discussed. And these are like, you are only talking about logistics. You're not talking about how their website looks like. You're not talking about how their inventory coverage is looking like. You're only and only talking about logistics. So I think this is a very, very specific domain, I would say, expertise
Focus.
want to build in this particular space, and obviously take it back to our clients, take it back to the people who we work with, bring some of this intelligence out there in our products in times to come. And obviously, as the market grows, we are happy to grow with that. I mean, we
I love the report simply because of the number of shipments that you talk about, sheer volumes between 2020 and 2025.
yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. It'll go from 2.5 billion units to 10.5 billion units in 5 years per year.
Yes.
That's a phenomenal amount of consumption. That's almost like a 52% growth
Yes,
year on
absolutely.
year, right?
Yeah.
Amazing. And what a CAGR of 33%, you mean? I mean, that's how it'll grow.
Yes, absolutely. I think we are big believers in the Indian e-commerce growth story. And if you look at it, I think what COVID has just done is probably it has acted like a catalyst now. Okay, it is just fast tracking how some of these developments are happening. And this is going to continue. This is not going to stop any further. And with the amount of bets, like someone like a Reliance is taking in this country, someone like how Walmart and Flipkart are probably doing stuff. I think we are also hearing a lot of, I would say, traditional conglomerates now coming into and exposing themselves with some of the tech companies today. So I think there is a lot of money at play. There's a lot of investments coming into this space. And the great thing is that the customer growth is happening. I mean, the single biggest factor or the single biggest positive that I find in my heart is that the number of people who are shopping have increased. If they can double in this year, the GMV is going to automatically increase in the next couple of years, which is a great sign.
I think it's going to grow big next year. I think people are predicting close to 3 billion shipments or something in terms of quantity, and that's what you're predicting also, 2.7 or something. And I look forward to that. For the benefit of our audience, you want to define why horizontal and hyperlocal platforms account for 85% of the total e-commerce shipments. And it's important. Horizontal would be platforms like Flipkart, right? And others would be D2C, omni-channel, all that would come in, and EB2B. You want to explain to our audience how this industry has shaped up to?
So again, I think the way we have categorized the entire e-tailing industry today is we have categorized into 6 elements. We have horizontal, with the Flipkart, Amazon, Meesho, and the likes.
Correct.
We have vertical as a category, which quantify vertical means a single category, which is someone like a Mintra, someone like a FirstCry. Then we have hyperlocal, where we have food and grocery both. So Swiggy, Zomato, Big Basket, My Kirana as a platform. So
Correct.
companies. Then we have D2C. D2C is direct to consumer brand. So we have brands like Mama, Wow
Yeah.
Skincare, Oof.
How did that phenomenon happen? No, suddenly D2C is all over the place. Everybody talks about it. They get the mind share in terms of press reach for them is also increased.
Yeah.
It's happened very quietly, and a lot of them have crossed 100 crores in revenues, 500 crores in revenues, and they're only 4 5 years old.
Yeah. No, I think D2C is a fascinating story. I think D2C will continue thriving in times to come.
Yes.
There is a lot of potential of new brands to come in this market, and a lot of those brands don't really want to sell on Flipkart and Amazon because there is a certain kind of customer perception, there's a certain kind of customer profile which is coming over there. We actually see a lot of D2C brands coming in, especially in the premium segment, okay, or the luxury segment we call it, where the average ticket size is like fantastic. It's like 1,000 rupees plus per item. So I think it's a very niche market as of now, high GMV, high profitability, and I think the Indians are finally learning how to do
Yeah.
business. Like people 5 years back, if you would have said to anybody, can you exist as a purely online brand? Okay, nobody would have thought about it. But I think
Nobody.
here people are now saying, okay, why to go offline? We will only be an online brand. And I know because there's so many companies we work with today, all they are concerned about how they are going to increase their throughput, how they are going to increase their penetration into the country. But nobody talks about going offline. People are happy going to the US and launching their products over there, but people are still not comfortable talking about like going offline, which is like very surprising, which is very surprising, intriguing to and today's times. And
In this, go
sorry,
on, you were
yeah.
saying.
No, I think even when COVID has happened, now this has obviously become more obvious. Why should anybody go out there and put their, shop in a pantaloons or in a mall? I
Yeah,
mean,
nothing against Pantaloon, you would know, but you're right. I agree with what you're saying. I liked, you in this report you measured the merchant NPS, the customer NPS. Nobody measures the experience and the tracking updates, right? Very important. Uh, I think a lot of people give logistics a bad name. All they want is quick delivery. It's come home, okay, bye, delivery boy. But you brought life back into this. It's very delightful to see that you ensured that even the merchant experience is covered in this. And why so? Why is that important?
see, merchant experience is going to become a big thing in our country. 5 years back, the most amount of e-commerce that was a warehouse fulfilled e-commerce, okay, where there are
Correct.
massive houses that have been set up, and that used to be, if I'm not wrong, it used to be almost 80-85 of the total 80-85% of the total commerce that was happening. Now what has started happening is this number is actually completely flipped. Today warehouse based fulfillment would hardly be 35 to 40%, okay.
Mm-hmm.
If I talk, and this is like in terms of transaction that I'm talking about, not in terms of GMV wise it might be higher, but transaction.
True.
You look at hyperlocal, there are no warehouses in hyperlocal. Okay, and for a Swiggy or a Zomato, what is important, like as important they are to the customer, they are important to the merchant as well. And today, like if you look at it, marketplace, Kirana based models, I think that's what is becoming a hit. Okay, a retailer who's sitting on ground, who's doing nothing, and who's badly struck by COVID, can actually go online now and sell his shipments through any of these marketplaces. And it's a like a amazing story, I would say. And merchants are going to be the drivers of the e-tailing universe in times to come, and we are actually a big believer in that. And like merchants, and not just merchants, I would call even resellers. So like you
Yeah.
talk social commerce models today, and social commerce is such a beautiful story, and there are some companies who have done so wonderfully well in this. And I mean, we know the leader in this space very well, Misho. I mean, they have done like an amazing job where they have like created millions of housewives to actually go online and sell products. They're sitting at home, especially in COVID times, and I think doing crazy amount of sales. So hearing what a merchant feels like is very important. If a merchant is not satisfied, you're never going to retain the merchant. So you have to retain the merchant. You have to, like, to get the best customer, you have to get the best merchant, and to get the best customer, you have to get the best merchant. I mean, it's vice versa. So the thing is that the platform which are going to succeed are the ones who are going to have a very high customer as well as merchant NPS, which is probably very different from what it used to be 5 years back.
Yeah, I agree with you, Abhishek. And one special note that people have to notice that eB2B is growing. I
Yeah.
see a lot of startups like Medica Bazaar, Medibox. These are mostly in the medical distribution space. But
Yeah.
you have to, I mean, people have to realize that the B2B space in the FMCG side otherwise also is growing, right? So eB2B is very good, and I see an impact because of Geomart, frankly. And how do you measure this? eB2B is an unexplored segment, and is it going to be big?
So first of all, I'll explain the viewers
Yeah,
what B2B. Okay. eB2B is when, let's say, a kirana or a small time shopkeeper procures their inventory from a platform, okay, for their own sale. Now they have multiple options today. If they are not procuring online, they can go to a distributor to buy stuff. They can go to a cash and carry, or like something like a metro cash and carry or a best price cash and carry. They can go over there and buy stuff. But again, the organized side is very small today. I mean, as compared to something like globally, the organized
yeah,
retail is very, very small. So I think it's a completely fragmented market. Now there is a lot of opportunity, like companies like, I mean, today, like Udan has obviously set a great example.
yeah,
Geomart has now come in and started opening up the market. There's a lot of work, like, I mean, Flipkart has acquired Walmart based B2B entity in India, and they are basically
correct.
scaling it up. So there is a lot of potential of unlocking an opportunity on the B2B side as well, because whatever said and done, Indian commerce happens through these kirana stores. I think what we all need to appreciate today is that the only reason we survived COVID is because of the small shop that is close to our house, who was open day and night, who used to probably even
Agreed.
take delivery, used to be like very personal sort of an assistant to everyone. I think that's why we all of us survived, because those were the only things which were functional in COVID times. So I think they have a special place in the economy. What is happening is that the traditional distributor model is becoming inefficient now. Brands don't want five mediators in between to reach to the end retailer. They
Yeah.
want to reduce the number of layers. And a e-platform is a perfect way of doing it. So not just like independent companies trying it out. We are actually seeing a lot of FMCG companies having their e-channels now. They call it
Yeah.
e-RT, e-route to market is what it is called these days. But everybody is trying to build their own channel, and I mean, they are trying to create newer models. We are hearing social commerce coming into play over here as well. So very interesting models in which basically people are trying to cut down on the mediators. Now, see what is going to be required to do all of that. So if you're breaking the distributor channel, if you're breaking the traditional way of supply of things, you will need a third party logistics ecosystem to actually deliver it, and someone who can deliver it at a very low cost, because margins are razor thin in this business. So I think there's a very interesting opportunity in coming times. There are a lot of things people are doing. Like if I talk about SaaS, I see so many companies coming in the SaaS space where they're trying to organize retailers. They are trying to create a SaaS-enabled marketplace, as they classically call it. So I think there's a lot of movement, especially happening in the EB2B space. Geomart has obviously added spice
Yeah.
to all, and
That's true.
yeah, and let's see how that goes in. But overall, I think the market has a great potential and exciting things.
Yeah, and I agree with you because apparel has been one of the leaders in this space. I see omni-channel picking off great. I think omni-channel and 3PL should have worked long ago, and it's finally happening. And I
Yeah,
was visiting a Louis Philippe store, and that guy and the store guy manager was telling me that the omni-channel he had to say, he told me, why do you want to leave the house? Order on a website, and whether you order on Myntra or not, it connects to the Louis Philippe store close to my house, and a 3PL player will pick it up and come and deliver it home. That's fascinating.
yeah. Now there's a good probability that might be Shadowfax actually.
That could be. Why? Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, yeah. So we do a lot of this kind of movement. So this is called omni-channel. I think omni-channel is a very, very interesting play for us. It's actually a combination of e-commerce plus hyperlocal. So in hyperlocal, like you have to pick up from a point, deliver to the customer. But like in e-commerce, you can even have returns in that. You can have an open delivery, doorstep quality check, multiple attempts. So it's as complicated as an e-commerce, but as I would say speedy as probably an hyperlocal. And I think we do a lot of that now. We are hearing more people trying to enter into this space where every brand is thinking today how do I convert my offline store into a warehouse? How do I supply e-commerce orders from my warehouse? And this is like one of the most discussed items that you will find, because offline sales are going through, I mean, they're cracking right now. COVID has had a very significant impact on especially the apparel segment. People are trying to figure out how to recuperate from that. But I mean, it is still time where things are going to be absolutely normal as pre-COVID.
Okay, I want to talk about something that I was tracking in 2013-14 but lost track of. Reverse logistics has always been a problem for the horizontals. I hear even the verticals have the same problem now. Do you think there's a case for this particular segment to be solved? Or I think in the report I read briefly that you're going to do that there is some case for this too. Can you tell us about the reverse logistics industry and how it's changing also?
Yeah, I'll tell you, there was another piece of research that we did almost 2 years. Okay. What we did was we interviewed about 200 men and women, and we tried to understand what drives their buying behavior. Okay. Interestingly, for women, okay, the biggest thing to drive a buying behavior is whether whether whatever they're buying is like the company is going to take it back or not if they don't like it. Okay. And if you look at, like, women shop for apparel, like apparel is the biggest category where women have the leadership. And we were absolutely, like, surprised to see that it's not discounts. Everybody would intuitively imagine that discounts are going to drive behavior, but it was not. It's actually reverse logistics. Now, I think reverse logistics again has two sets of challenges. One is basically how quickly can you pick up the shipment when a customer requests, basically ask for a refund. And secondly, how good are you at doing quality check? Because trust me, we are in India. Okay. The biggest problem I'm still trying to solve today is how to identify fake Ray-Ban glasses when we are picking up shipment. Okay.
Is that a problem? Is counterfeit and fake a problem?
Yes, it is a big problem. I mean, like, there are specific states in our country where the level of frauds are so high that our rejection rate, our doorstep quality rejection rate is 5%. Like 5% of time, our delivery boy says that you have actually done a fake. Okay, that's how bad it is. People will buy a black shirt, okay, and they will return their own black shirts, like some previous black shirt. And for boys, like, all black shirts look the same. How do you delivery boy differentiate that? So it's become like, it's a very, very, very interesting problem to solve. I think both accuracy and speed are very important in reverse. And see, one of the special things that we realized was that I think today reverse is actually, like, between the platform that we interviewed with, or the data that we came out with showed that people who are actually better have a higher quality of reverse. Okay. And, like, I'll tell you, there's some innovation that happens in reverse today which are, like, very, very interesting. So in reverse, there are few companies which have popularized the concept of 4-hour pickup service. Basically, you pick a button, the delivery boy will come in 4 hours. He'll pick up the shipment. He'll press a button by doing a quality check on his app itself, and the customer will get instant refund. Now, imagine the ease and the confidence the customer will get on the platform. If you can return with so much ease, the return process is so seamless. So I think reverse is something where we believe in big time. Reverse is a big differentiator. It is a very difficult capability to actually do at a certain scale, because the quality check process in India is not easy. It's like, trust me, every day we learn over here, and it's just like interesting how many frauds can actually happen over here.
What is of the total e-commerce pie in our country? What do you think are the fake and the counterfeits? What would be the percentage? Yeah, you should do a report on this. That'd be interesting.
You see, again, it varies category by category. Okay. For, let's say, and it varies by geography also. So roughly about 10 to 12% of the overall shipments get returned. So if basically an e-commerce platform is selling 100 shipments, 10 to 12 shipments will actually be returned back from the customer. Out of that, about, like, depending upon which company you're talking about, the frauds will be somewhere between 5 to 15%.
Oh, if you look at 12% as 100%, You mean out of that it'll be 5%, you're saying, right?
Yeah. So 5% of basically 10%, let's say.
Okay.
Overall,
Okay.
0.5% frauds would be happening on a overall basis. 0.5%.
That's very,
But see, in
but
GMP terms, that's a significant. It looks like a very small number, but when you multiply with the average selling price of a product,
let's say
it's really high.
50,000 crore. If you say if you say 10%, 10% returns, it'll be about 5,000 crores. And of that,
Another,
it's only, yeah, that's interesting.
yeah,
So that'll be what, 5% of that. That'll be
500,
around 250 crore, 250
250 to
crore.
500 crores is the broad range. Yes.
Wow, that's still a big number. It's like an entire small business running out there. You should bring out a report on that, and I will definitely publish it like no other business. It's beautiful. Okay, before we move on, I want to talk about NPS. I want to talk about multi-SKU delivery. You've mentioned that. We'll talk about it. Let's quickly take some audience questions because we're in the middle of the show. Let's quickly do this, okay? There are people asking, when will you open a franchise in the eastern parts of the country? There's somebody saying, when will you come to Mizoram? Somebody from Madhya Pradesh says, sir, I want to become a delivery partner. How do I do that? All you have to do is go to the website and apply, but I don't know the Mizoram part. Please go on.
Yeah. No, I think, see, what happens is, so in the inner trenches of the country, we tend to open a lot of franchisees, and I think thanks for the people who are actually looking to apply for that. My request would be, you could go on our website, you could register over there. You would actually get a response in about 2 weeks. So it's a long process that we go through. It's a filtering process, and there are various kind of franchisees that you can actually apply for. So if you're probably sitting in your hometown, you want to make some money, you have a small shop, you have an interest in logistics, please apply on our website. And there's a very detailed shortlisting criteria and an interview criteria and a process through which you can actually make money while sitting at home. So interestingly, like for example, we are there in Mizoram big time. Northeast is a big focus segment for us, and that's why you'll also find a lot of Northeast people attending the shows with us, because that's one of the places where we have actually built a fairly good network now, like operational in close to about 100 odd cities, like in east and
Yeah.
north. So I think happy
So
to
the
like,
person from Mizoram can apply. He
yes,
can apply.
can apply.
Okay, great. Okay, this is from Karun. He says, how safe is it to send jewelry through, your products? If he's a retailer, can they work with you to sell jewelry?
Jewelry is a very difficult category. Again, return services cannot be tested in jewelry. I think what we have seen is that if your jewelry ticket size is, let's say, less than 10,000 rupees, I think it is today the systems and the infrastructure is like you can actually send it if it is less than that. But if it is more than that, not really advisable. And it's a bit of a challenge because the leakages
Okay.
can be like very high.
Okay, that's not a category that you are keen about. Very okay. Okay.
No,
This is,
category which is not very e-commerce friendly, honestly. One of the
yes.
reasons that jewelry, nobody gets an insurance. It's not possible to get an insurance in jewelry segment. So it like a lot of basically like ways of moving goods gets cancelled out because it's not an insured product.
Right. This is from Sumedh, who says, so I mean, he understands the franchising part from a retail perspective. He wants to know, in this, should he have a deposit with you or something? That's how retail franchisees work. Is it similar with you guys? This is
Yeah.
Sumedh's question.
We will have a certain deposit, and depending upon which geography, which service you are applying for, there will be a deposit because the people would be collecting cash on the ground. So when they're delivering shipment, they'll be collecting COD, then they'll have to deposit back to us. So I think the people need to show a certain amount of buying into our system, and there is a charge. It is not free of cost. There is a certain charge, but it depends on which service you are applying a franchisee for.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what the next question is all about. This is from Don Bells India. It's a tech company. What are your packages that you offer for businesses, for B2B?
See, in B2B, there can be various sorts of opportunities. Okay. I think one very interesting opportunity we have recently started is factory to depots. So if you have a factory, you want to deliver across 30-40 states of this country, we do that. Then in B2B, what is very important is delivery to the end retailer. So there are a lot of companies which actually use us for doing warehousing. They'll use us for doing first mile pickups, last mile deliveries, and even bringing the reverse chain. So I think whenever like any sort of a delivery is required in a certain geography from a retailer or from a depot perspective, we are generally up for it.
Okay. The next question from Nagendra, I think he's a student. He says, how did you become an entrepreneur, especially because you studied in IIT, you did very well there. And what are your thoughts about your family at that point in time? Did they support you to become an entrepreneur? This is from Nagendra.
No, I think I come from a family of entrepreneurs. My dad was a self-made entrepreneur himself. I mean, it was actually pretty late. Well, in my family, like if you become an entrepreneur at 25, it's like very late. Matlab, what were you doing before that? It's that sort of a typical culture. People graduate from school, and at 18, they are like basically shown the road. Okay, find a business for yourself to do. I was lucky to actually study at IIT, probably work for a couple of years, and then being pushed into it. So I think my family is fairly supportive of me being running into a business. I can't even imagine myself not running a business. Okay, it was like that clear that okay, you will have to start something of your own, and
you've done very well. So good. Yeah. They must be very happy now.
I'm glad we survived. That's what I call.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Moving on. Next question is from Prachi. She says, okay, you built your business, grew very well, raised money, all that. But there must be a client that's given you a most difficult time. Without mentioning the name of the client, can you talk about that vertical, how they give you a difficult time, and what did you learn from it?
Every client is difficult. Trust me, when you're working with the most customer-centric brands in this country, life is not easy. Nobody gives you a spare time. You do 99 deliveries right. People will be like, okay, you did your job. You do one delivery wrong, people are up your life. So I think it's a very difficult sector to be in. It's generally very challenging. I don't even have one single category or one single client who actually has been a difficult story for us. I think we come into difficulties every few months, every few clients, wherever we probably work the most, we'll get into some of the most difficult times. And I mean, that's probably part and parcel of our game. Clients appreciate that. What they appreciate even more is that we are actually coming out stronger after every that we do. And that's the reason we have never lost a client. People who work with us, they always work with us. Yeah.
And there are a lot of people who've joined in, people who work for you have joined in. This is from Surat. A couple of people from Surat are saying, sir, we are your riders for the Gujarat food department side. I mean, I don't know if you have a business in Surat. And this is people saying, sir, we work for you. And they're saying all the best. We love you a lot. This is from Sheikh Shafi or whoever is there. I mean, his name is Sheikh Shafi, yes. Sheikh Shafiq. And he says he works for you. Okay, good, good. There are lots of messages like that. And then there's a question from a handle called Ye Mera Safar. He says, what is a Shadowfax micro onboarding center? Can that be a possible new business model for you?
No, I think that's a model that we have recently started scaling up again. So our model relies on the fact that we have a lot of crowdsourced people, and a lot of people who have joined over here would have probably worked in Shadowfax, made money. And the way it works is that people can download our app, they can register on that and become like delivery boys. Now, before you become a delivery partner, you have to basically go through a certain training process. You have to you have to get your KYCs done. Now, what we have done is we have created micro onboarding centers, and these would be like in a city like Bangalore, we'll have 30 onboarding centers where individual entrepreneurs are running like a small shop where basically whoever registers on our app goes to that place, gets themselves registers. The person over there trains them. The person even refers more people for us. Okay, they actually it's a very community sort of impact that we try to create through these centers, where this community guy basically talks about us in that local community around him and brings in more people. And for every person that joins in, for every person that gets trained, the person actually, the onboarding, the micro OB onboarding center, the people actually make money on that. So it's again a very low cost, organic way of growing on the ground, and which helps us like improve our network, improve our coverage, improve our community on the ground much faster. See, we are not a typical B2C company. We don't have any marketing budget. We don't spend money doing TV ads. I would say that you would have never seen a single banner, single advertisement of Shadowfax ever, because we don't even do that. We have never spent even a single penny on marketing. But I think these are some of those subtle ways, by creating communities, by basically creating a win-win sort of a solution on the ground, that we try to basically solve for a low-cost model.
Okay, I don't know how you want to take this next question, but it's interesting. This is from Karan. He says Shadowfax is delivering for Spotify.com. He rather wants to know, who were your first clients? I mean, when you first started doing your business, who were the two clients that championed you, and why did they champion you, and what was the proposition? Then I'm saying 5 years ago, the propositions were very different, I'm sure. If you could talk about that.
I think 5 years back we were a hyperlocal logistics player. If you are a restaurant, you're a grocery store, you're an ice cream store, you're a medical store, we used to have an app where you can just press a button, our delivery boy will reach you in 10-15 minutes, and he'll do delivery within a certain radius. Okay, we started with that. Currently we are based out of Bangalore, but our startup market was Delhi. I think that's where we spent a lot of time between founders, and a lot of core team was from Delhi or was in Delhi at that time. We started over there, and I think there's a very popular restaurant called Burko's in Connaught Place, Delhi, and that was our first client. And the first set of delivery we ever did was for them. So really happy about that. Interestingly, they are still using us. So
now, how many? I mean, you must have got tons of clients now. I think you must have got more than. I know you're in a lot of cities, but how many people do you have? How many clients do you have?
So see, again, I think one of the big differentiators between what we are doing now versus what we were doing 5 years back. 5 years back, we were basically talking to a lot of SME players. Okay.
Yeah.
We are a very enterprise focused company. We don't have like an active SME division. Okay, so by an enterprise mean we will work with a large entity. So for example, Spotify is a great example. Sorry, Shopify. My bad. Shopify is a great example. Now Shopify is an aggregator. So we will work with Shopify in order to reach to more and more SMEs. But we will not go out there again and like start acquiring SMEs on the ground, have a sales team in doing that. So we don't really have that. So we have a centralized sales function which basically works with these enterprises and solve for some of these problems.
Nice.
So again,
Nice.
probably evolved quite a lot from where we used to be 5 years back.
Okay. There's lots more love for you people. There's Nizam Musassar, you changed my life. He worked for you somewhere in the West. He says he's really thankful to you. Then there are companies like Arista Ventures. They're apparently one of your uniform suppliers, and they want to share that they're very happy to see you in this session. So it's amazing. But there are also difficult questions. I'm going to ask you this. I don't know how, if you can ignore it if you want. This is from Ahmed Safar. He says he's seen Rapido entering the 3PL segment now. Is there a case for them to plug onto your platform? Is it because they will also be riders in one way, right? Is that a possibility? One. And he also says, are you aware about Vahan being one of your top sourcing partners to get riders? So these are the two questions.
Yeah. No. I mean, no question is a difficult question. It's okay. No, I think we are fairly excited to genuinely have competitors in our space. Okay, logistics is a space where you thrive because of your competitors. If you are the only third-party logistics company, no company would want to have a third-party strategy per se. Okay, the moment there are multiple companies, then first of all you have a benchmark. Then you can very easily say I am the best. Otherwise, if you are the only one, then how do you say I am the best? Okay, I think companies thrive on each other, and it actually helps open up the market quite faster. So we are super happy having competitors out there in the market, and I think this actually stands true for our competitors also. They will be happy because we exist, because you look at each other and that's how you innovate. Otherwise, you will never innovate. Why is there a case of making any innovation or cost reduction if there is no pressure from the external world? So I think that's what probably makes the logistics industry beautiful. Great is like in a space like logistics, in India, I think there will be 5-6 companies which will actually get listed. Okay, in times to because the market is so big, there's so many people who are doing some interesting things in this space. So there is, I think, space for everyone. And as long as there's space for everyone, I mean, it's actually a good thing to have competitors out there.
Agreed. Now this is from Sundar, who says, if you're saying that there will be 10 billion items shipped by 2025, right? What would be a 5-year vision? Okay, and this adding to that is Arsita Ventures, and he says they're curious to know about your expansion plans, any plans to go global. So 2 questions there. 5-year vision based on your report, based on the growth that you mentioned. Second one is about any plans to expand in India or enter global markets.
I'll take the second question first, then I'll come to the like a 5-year plan is one thing, vision is a let's say 10-15-year thing. So I'll take it in that sequential order. I think when it comes to expansion in India today, we are there in 7,000 pin codes. We are starting to go to 20,000 pin codes, and going every village, every space in this country is something that we are keen in. I'm not really keen on going global. I think there is enough appetite for the next 5 years in India, and logistics is it's a very India-specific problem that we are trying to solve over here. So I think we are very well focused just to focus on India. India is a deep market for us, and probably until we become profitable, we take our company to a public market listing. I don't think we are deviating from anything. We are very well focused into like the India market, and we love to do that.
Okay, great. Now I want to come back to these technicalities before we end the show, and we also take some more questions, maybe 1 or 2 more. This is about, I was reading Swiggy wants to do multi-SKU delivery, right? That was an interesting thing that I read recently, and I think you mentioned it in the report that people have to understand multi-SKU delivery, and you guys can play a major role in it. How would that work? Now the technology has to be robust to work with multiple players. For example, I can order a cream from a More or some local departmental store listed on Swiggy, for example. Then I can also order food. The same rider can pick up in the route if he wanted, or it can be multiple riders, right? But it'll be one single seamless platform instead of me going individually to all of them, right?
Yeah.
How will your platform work in that case?
I think, what is required over here is how do you plan the routes in the most efficient manner so as to reduce the cost. I think the way our algorithms function, like they function in this manner only. That's how we are able to run such a big network, because how do you just effectively manage the route? How do you allocate the right person, the right job? I think that's very, very critical. So I think this is something which falls within the ambit. How scalable it is yet to be figured out, whether offering this to a same customer to offer or to order from 2 different sellers and to combine it. I have my views in terms of whether this is doable, how quickly this is doable, and which all places will it be doable. But yes, I mean, it's something which only time will prove.
And the other thing I liked is the return of food tech, simply because restaurants have now realized the importance of being online. Resilient restaurants did not want to shut down because obviously people were not coming in. They quickly pivoted to digital. And that was an interesting thing where footfalls reduced, but digital orders for them have increased. And you noticed that.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I mean, everybody is just feeling safe while ordering from home. That's the same mentality which is going over there. And I think restaurants which have actually have a good online presence, they have been able to work seamlessly with the e-commerce platforms. I think they have done particularly well. That's what I can tell.
I must tell you that this report should keep coming. And guys, you guys watching this will like the horizontals, verticals, omni-channel, D2C, hyperlocal, eB2B. They've covered it in detail. They've mentioned a lot of graphs that can be a great resource for you. But what is even more interesting is the opportunities going from 2020 to 2025. You cannot ignore 3PL. Guys, you can literally start new businesses. It can be your part-time business too. You want to earn that little income, you can register as a franchisee or you can register as a rider. Correct me if I'm wrong, Abhishek. You're open, right? For the network to grow.
Absolutely. Just to give you some perspective, we have 1.5 lakh people on our platform. About 40,000 people come online daily and work on the platform. So I mean, that's what we do day in, day out.
Okay, okay. I want to ask you this final question on innovations. You
Yeah.
talked about contactless, you talked about kiranas, but there are a few more. I was interested in more RFID tracking, voice instructions. Voice is a big thing that nobody understands. I mean, but it's a very UI, UX thing where people naturally take to voice if you had such a thing, right? And what are some of the innovations that you notice?
I think voice is a beautiful feature. Ever since voice has come in, my parents only send me a voice message. Okay, like for a certain generation, voice is incredible. Uh, and what we realized was like, I mean, there was one company, like, for example, Zomato did this over the last quarter, where they actually started like where a customer can send a voice message to the delivery boy who's delivering that order. It's a beautiful process, and actually, the number that we got and the number that we had an idea of, it has a fairly good amount of adoption both on the demand and the delivery partner side. So I think that's a very interesting innovation we saw over the last few months. I think another crazy innovation, I would not call it innovation, it's just a next step to it, but is the whole adoption of UPI payments. I mean, how customers like are moving away from cash on delivery to UPI at doorstep is an amazing change. And it's an inefficiency that was there in the market. It's an India specific problem, but I think UPI is a beautiful product in India.
Amazing product.
I don't think
Amazing product.
yeah anybody else in the world has come up with something like a UPI. So I think UPI is getting a crazy adoption over there on the ground,
I
which is
Now that you said it, there are a lot of questions. They're saying people are saying, so why don't you get into some form of lending for the riders and all that? Is it a possible business avenue that you want to look at in the future?
I think, see, our core business is logistics. Okay. Our core business is like creating employment opportunities for people. Creating a lending scheme is something we want to facilitate, but we can't build it by ourselves. Okay. There are hundreds of problems that we are already trying to solve.
Mhm.
I think, but we actually are working with a few platforms. There's a couple of platforms we are launching with as well in the next quarter
Yeah,
or where basically partners working on our platform will be like will have the option of taking some part of their earnings early, or they can basically take an advance, or like we'll
yeah.
facilitate loans over there. Yeah,
So there's a platform called Karma Life. Did you do a pilot with them?
yeah, we are working with them.
Okay, that's interesting because all this, the audience is so informed about you. That's beautiful. Okay, I love the audience and they're so well informed, and I'm so happy for that. People are asking again. I think again, college students asking. So your strategies for hiring people. This is from Nagendra. What are the strategies for you to hire people in your company in every level? Now, do you focus your time in hiring the leadership side?
Yeah, definitely. I think I spend a lot of time in leadership hirings, in leadership. How do you organize a leadership specifically when you're growing so fast? I think that's where we end up spending a lot of time as well. But I think from a hiring strategy perspective, what is really like important is getting the right culture mix. Okay, getting the right set of people who actually align with your vision. And for us, like we are actually very different because we are not traditional logistics guys. Before starting Shadowfax, I had zero idea about logistics, and like I mean, a lot of people who actually come and work in our company have no clue on logistics. Okay, they actually come, probably they would have worked some amazing things before that, but logistics is the first time that they try it out. And I think what we love is like people who are actually willing to solve very complex problems, people who just want to think ground up, who want to have a first principle approach in life and try solving some very difficult problems out there. So I think that's what broadly we love to do. But yeah.
No, I mean they're great questions, okay, and a lot of people are so informed about your company, and it's interesting. Maybe they're also working with you. Maybe they worked with you. They're very happy that that you're doing this show. They also mentioned that in the report you mentioned Amazon, okay, and do you work with them also because you're also tied to Flipkart in many ways,
Yeah.
especially because of the funding. But are you allowed to work with any e-commerce platform, including Amazon?
Yeah. So we work with everyone in this space. We have no restriction on who we work with. Flipkart is a great strategic partner for us. I think Flipkart has like done a fantastic job over the last couple of months, and especially getting this like tailwind of new shoppers. I think when it comes to tier two, tier three, I know obviously the customer experience wise, Amazon leads in the metro cities, but when it comes to tier two, tier three, I think the market share of Flipkart is phenomenal. And I think the number of new users probably that Flipkart has seen, I don't think any other platform would have seen in India right now, especially in the last 3 4 months. So I think they're a great partner to have. I think there's so much to learn from them every day that we work with. And again, we are trying to solve very exciting problems
Correct.
with
Correct.
text.
Okay. Guys, last question, and before I ask him about his personal books and things he gets inspired by, this is from Arsita Ventures again. So what are your plans to become a carbon neutral company? And also a fintech question. Do all your delivery boys get a phone pay kind of an account? I mean, because I know your Flipkart funded so is that a possibility of merging fintech or payments with Shadowfax?
Yeah, we work very closely with PhonePe actually, and that's again a strategic advantage we have. So I think we provide UPI payments. To the question on carbon neutrality, so we are very quickly deploying EVs in our network, right from bikes to mini trucks, and I think we have been toying around with EVs for the last 3 years now. A lot of work needs to be done on that, but I think we have a clear view now in terms of how in the next 4 to 5 years there's a major proportion of our fleet is going to be on EVs.
Fantastic. And I look forward to that. And for that, we need to meet specifically. I don't know if
Yeah.
you're in Bangalore. The EV
Ah,
story is definitely, I'm going to come back to you and talk to you.
yeah.
And Gab and Geomart, are they potential partners or already partners?
Yeah, we work with them. Yes,
Amazing,
yeah.
guys. So you have all the answers. And before I end the show, I would say check out Ground Zero. You know, it's a Redseer Shadowfax Logistics Index. Gives you an overview of the last quarter and what's happened in the logistics industry and what's going to happen in the future, coming year and beyond for the next 5 years. So check it out. But I cannot leave you, Abhishek, without asking this question. What do
Yeah.
you get inspired by, and what are you reading currently that will inspire others?
I think I genuinely get inspired by creating impact. Anything where we are able to create or change the way things were happening big time. I think that really inspires me. I think in terms of books, what I'm reading, I'm actually not reading at this very moment something, or probably I have not read for the last couple of weeks, but I think over the last 1 year, I've gone through some very interesting books. I was reading this book called Shoe Dog. I'll actually, if somebody is looking to build a brand, a D2C brand, it's a must read. It's an amazing story. So you should read that. You should also read about the Walt Disney story. It's again a great story.
Yeah, I
How
have both the books. They're amazing.
yeah. So I think that's what I generally. I'm a history buff, so I love reading how like organizations evolve or how historically politics has evolved. Big World War II fan, so I read a lot of that as well. So yeah.
So great. I mean, you and I have a lot of common interests. That means we should catch up apart from
Yes.
journalism, talk
Yeah.
about history. Okay. And I have a couple of history recommendations too, especially
Yes.
Francis Fukuyama's because they're interested in state formation and all that. So
Definitely.
I'll send you a personal message on WhatsApp. But on that note, thank you so much. Guys, go check out this report, Ground Zero. It is a Redseer Shadowfax Logistics Index. It's a very comprehensive report on the Indian logistics industry, at least for the last quarter and what's going to happen in the coming year. They are going to be delivering COVID vaccines, you know, with the help of SpiceJet. They're partnering with them. That announcement is going to be happening tomorrow morning. All the best to you, Abhishek. And
Thank
guys, okay, the book that he recommended was Phil Knight's Shoe Dog. It is a great book on brand building. Go check it out. There's a lot of people saying that we love working for you. There's a lot of people saying they're great to be rider partners with you. So there's a lot of positivity and wish you all the very best, Abhishek. And I'll
thank
see
you.
you soon.
Thank you. See you soon. Looking forward. Thank you. Bye bye.
Good night. Bye.
Good night.
Right, guys, that's another wonderful entrepreneur. That's Abhishek Bansal, the founder of Shadowfax. Okay, Monday, I'm going to be talking about EdTech. Okay, EdTech is the largest funded industry this year. 2.2 billion was raised in EdTech. I'm going to have the Indian Venture Capital Association and Praxis Global Alliance come in and talk about it. They've released a fantastic report on what's happening in EdTech. Okay, there are 360 million learners. No one in the world has so many learners. Okay. So come back on Monday, 9 o'clock, if you want to learn about EdTech and the opportunity. If you're an entrepreneur who wants to be written about, you can contact me on this number. It's 9902054222. I've put it in. You can be a tech company, you can be a distribution company, but have an understanding of how a brand is built. I will talk to you. I will champion you. Yourstory is there to build your story. And thank you very much, guys. I'll see you soon. My number is 9902054222 for those of you who want to be written about in your story. And the name of the book is Phil Knight Shoe Dog. Okay. Yes, I will get I'll get SaaS players. I will get them next year. I've got a whole host of good companies lined up for you to be inspired by. Okay. Take care of yourself. And I'll see you Monday to talk about EdTech and why it's the largest funded industry in India this year. 2.2 billion is what's been raised. Okay. So take care. On that note, have a safe weekend. Wear a mask wherever you're going. Take care. Bye-bye.